Network here, Sportscast Edition. We got your headlines of the week, and it's going to be a headline episode. We got a billion of them. Craig, how's it going, brother? Got your host Brian and Craig on the line here.
Happy Friday, sir.
Happy Friday. Yes, Friday. The weekend is here. Super Bowl weekend at that. We will mention that a little bit. Super Bowl a little bit. We kind of already talked about Super Bowl already. We're going to go over a plethora of headlines through pretty much all sports. Stick with us, stay tuned on the other side of this, guys. All right, guys, welcome in, welcome in. First, I got to start out. I want to apologize for not having an episode on Tuesday. We talked about an awesome episode coming up on Tuesday, but Craig got home and had no power, and that kind of ended that whole conversation. And
Yeah.
then, so we're back. We'll do that probably maybe the week after the Super Bowl or something. We'll get into that. So I'm looking forward to that episode, and you guys should as well. We got a lot of headlines to get into today, covering football, basketball, and a little bit of baseball as well. And it's been a wild week of headlines just popping out left and right. I hope we cover them all because there's quite a few to go through here. But real quick, we got him. We can't go and not mention the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl is this weekend, obviously, unless you've been hiding under a rock. We predicted and we talked about that on the episode last Friday. I got the Eagles winning. I think Craig, you got the Chiefs winning. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just can't go against the best player in the field.
Yeah, I understand. I think Eagles are the better team, but it's hard to go against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So it should be a good game. I'm hoping. I want the Eagles to win, but I'm hoping. I don't got a dog in the fight. I'm just hoping for a good football game.
Yeah, I don't see, barring a cataclysmic injury on one side or the other. I think you get that. It's Patrick Mahomes has taken the band of misfit toys and drug them and I mean everything against him. I mean he's had a high ankle sprain, which normally sidelines people for a month. He's playing with it. He's missed his top three. Well, he's the wide receivers he's using are guys that wouldn't even be on anybody else's roster, and yet somehow here we are. I mean, we thought about everybody else: Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. I mean, we thought everybody and anybody would be here, but here he is still. So
Yeah, you got to give him hats off this season and doing what he's did, and speaking of,
it's the reason he is clearly the MVP.
yeah, I was going to say good. We got a good segment there into the NFL awards last night, and yeah, he added an MVP to the mantle last night, and no, he came out here without his best wide receiver, Tyreek Hill. We talked about it. We've about him, Tyreek Hill leaving. We thought it might affect him, and it did not. He came out and said, "All right, I'm going to show you. I'm going to win MVP. I'm going to win a game to go to the Super Bowl on my bad ankle, and we'll see if he can add a Super Bowl ring on Sunday to that mantle as well." And probably I don't know who has had a better start in 5 years than Patrick Mahomes starting off their season.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't know if you can find a better one.
been to 5 AFC championships.
2 Super Bowls.
Well, this is
No,
three.
3rd Super Bowl. My bad. Yep.
He's going to very possibly be a two-time champion in 3 tries. Um,
I mean, it sounds like he could retire after this year and go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
Probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Just absolute, done it with a real good team, and then now he's done it with a team that hasn't been as good. So, you know,
That's
and
off.
barring a just an absolute historic Cincinnati season last year, very easily could be at his fourth Super Bowl in
Yep.
5 years. So, yeah, just playing with house money at this point in time. I mean, he's got the contract, he's got the accolades. I mean, he's literally a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and he's put anchors in that city. He's part of the
Oh,
Kansas City
absolutely.
Royals. He's doing things there, and I like to see that in a player and saying, "Hey guys, I'm here. I'm staying here."
Oh,
Um, let's get on the NFL awards last night. My coach of the year won. Brian Daboll. Was excited to see that. There was other coaches you could have talked about here. I'm surprised the Eagles coach Nick Sirianni didn't win it. I don't even know if he was a
he
finalist,
didn't even make the finalists. That
which
was
is
the
insane.
surprise. To not win, okay, I get it. I mean, the guy that did win took a team of that we didn't think was
Nobody's.
going to be very good and made them a playoff team. Um, so that is impressive. But what Sirianni has done in Philadelphia has been at least acknowledgeable of
Got to be.
you know.
Yeah. And he's probably carrying. He's a guy that carries those chips on his shoulder, so that's probably a chip he's adding on his shoulder for this weekend. But Brian Daboll, fantastic job coming in here from the Bills, first season in the NFL. He has Daniel Jones looking like a average quarterback. He's got Saquon Barkley healthy. That I don't know if it's a different training staff he brought in or what medical staff. They just had a good season, and they
Yeah.
did the season with no wide receivers.
No, not the ones that they're supposed to have.
Yeah, they don't.
I
They did
mean,
this with nobody.
they got a guy from Detroit and they basically benched him.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
paying all this money for nothing.
yeah, for nothing.
They just came out to fight hard. They didn't have guys, and that's the sign of a great coach. You have players that aren't that good, and they go and play above and beyond. And he did that with the Giants this year, and I'm glad he got the recognition he deserved there. Comeback player of the year, Geno Smith. I think that was obvious. And
Yeah, no,
what
absolutely.
what I learned about this award doesn't mean you have to be injured. It just means it could come back from sucking. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like he
yeah.
was bad
I was
last year.
not good at
He's good
football,
this
and
year.
now
Oh,
I'm good.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a just a hey, he broke his
yeah,
leg in half and now he's
yeah,
leading the league type of thing. But kudos to him. I think he goes back to Seattle this season. I think they sign him and they can work with him. But
yeah. I
um
mean, it would be very shocking to watch him walk away after the season that he
yeah.
had. And you thought that team was going to be in a long rebuild and that Geno Smith was going to be kind of the stepping stone to the next guy. Well, it appears right now that he wants to be the next guy. So now Seattle has a decision to make on whether they want to pay him
Yeah.
or move on. And boy, it would be a shame to move on. But at least if they do, he has a good season to
Add
put
on the
tape out there
resume. Yeah.
for somebody else. You know, I don't think he's going to go back to holding a clipboard after the season that he just had.
Yeah. I think you're right too. Nick Bosa, Player of the Year. That one's kind of given. We got Justin
Yep.
Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year, deserves that. Total, you know, just total beast. You got he
Yeah.
won Catch of the Year versus the Bills. That was the best catch of the season
Maybe the best catch
of the
ever.
all time, probably. I mean, I don't know how you hell that football. You got Dak Prescott, NFL Man of the Year for his work off of the field and the charitable stuff, and then you have something I don't think we've ever seen before. You have
No.
a offensive rookie and a defensive rookie from the same team win with Garrett Wilson as a wide receiver and
From the
Sauce
same team
Gardner.
that didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, how yeah, that's insane. Sauce Gardner is an absolute
Thanks,
beast.
Zach.
Absolute beast. Yeah, thanks, Zach. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah. All right, well, those are your NFL awards. And speaking of man of the year, well, guess who's not getting man of the year? Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, there's an investigation into his report that came out today of his charity. And actually, the money that he donates,
that he's
that
Brett
does
Favre
donate,
Jr.
yeah, it looks like Brett Favre Jr. Out of the 7.5 million for just from last year that was donated, only 2.8 went to charity. With Sierra Wilson having a six-figure payout from there, six-figure salary, and most people,
If you're
I
gonna
just
do it, don't
yeah,
give it to your
to
wife.
your wife,
No,
six
don't like the highest
figure,
price to your
six
wife.
figures, and then most people on this list they talk about it. I just read an article about this before we got on the podcast. Most people on this list aren't like CEOs and guys like that. They are just people with personal connections for the Wilsons that are just getting paid.
Well,
Um,
don't a majority of them like live in their house?
I didn't read that, but I
I
mean,
thought
I
that
wouldn't.
like a majority of them like stayed in their house, and
They
I'm
probably
like,
do. This
what? We're
what?
just paying the whole house, like
Yeah, that people donated his charities to go to kids, and he's basically paying his wife a salary, paying these
yeah,
guys a salary. We got, um, so and so over here that's been my friend for years. A salary, he doesn't have to work,
yeah,
and we'll give a little smidgen over here to the kids, and
yeah,
it's absolutely disgusting. And the more that comes out with Russell Wilson, the worse he looks.
yeah.
I mean, what this
Does.
guy off the field, we thought he was this great role model, God guy, but and this looks like it's like wow,
And
this
I
is
believe I would
terrible.
have to look it up, but I believe he did. I don't know if he's won it, but he has definitely at least probably been a finalist for the Walter Payton Man of the Year for this charity. People have talked about it when they had the golf, the Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson deal. Uh, he came on there and we're going to donate a bunch of money. Well, that probably came from you know acted like it came from his pocket, but it probably came from
Yeah,
people that
the
that
they
have
thought they
been
were sending it to
yeah,
children,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's
And
absolutely
so
sick.
100%. And I don't know if these things are punishable
Yeah,
for the misallocation
I mean,
of
is it fraud? Is
funds.
it
That's what I'm saying. I don't
yeah,
know if it's you know in illegal or it's just immoral.
yeah,
If it's just
yeah,
there are things in this world that you can't be punishable by law, but the morality of them is deal. But yet, I don't know where this falls. I mean, I know
exactly.
it makes him a horrible person, but I
It's
don't know
not.
if you're going to see a case or a lawsuit or something that he has to go back and justify, or if this just kind of goes away like the Favre thing did. This Favre thing came out and was hot and heavy, and he was a horrible. And then all of a sudden, I haven't heard anything else about it.
Well, did you hear what just happened with that?
No, I did not. Clearly,
Well, speaking of all POSs of people, Brett Favre is coming out and he's suing.
oh,
Brett Favre is suing the let
for
me look it up.
defamation of
Yes.
character.
Yes, he's suing Shannon Sharp. Let me see. Pat McAfee for defamation. And Brett Favre suing Shannon Sharp, Pat McAfee, yeah, over defamation. Um, I don't know. I just don't understand how Brett
That will be
would text.
thrown out. That will be thrown out in a cocaine
Yeah,
heartbeat if any of the fraud misallocation of funds if they said that this guy is just like we said not a good person and that's all they said, that'll be thrown out in a judge in a thing if he really did misallocate funds. If he can't prove that he didn't use the money improperly, which has been reported everywhere that he did, then he has
and
no case.
he
That's what
knew
I'm
where it
saying.
was
He knew
coming
where the
from.
money from was going and from, and knew that it wasn't being used right. If all that's true, then anything anybody said about him is 100% free game. So legally, you could take that and flush it.
Oh, exactly right. Oh, sorry, yawning over here. We got some more NFL. I'm gonna try and keep them all together here. Brock Purdy expected to miss 6 months with his injury. I saw false reports surface that he's going to miss a complete year with Tommy John surgery. He won't have Tommy John, but which would have cost him to miss a full 12 months, a full year. I looked more into it, and they're like, no, it's not Tommy John surgery. He's going to miss about 6 months, and it looks like he'll be ready, hoping to be ready right around the beginning of spring training this next season. So,
beginning of training camp.
Yeah, training camp, and I'm hoping. I mean, I'm not hoping. The 49ers hoping this is true because then if Brock Purdy isn't able to start next season, what do you do? Do you stick with Trey Lance?
Well, you have to, because Shanahan's already come out and said, I don't see a path for Garoppolo to be here. I just don't see a financial path. I don't see a playing spot. I don't see Jimmy wanting to be here. Like, I just don't see. He wants to go do his thing. He wants to go play football and wants to be a starter. I don't really want him here. So the plan is. But then again, if I'm Lance, do I want to be a backup when you just gave up all this for me and I didn't do anything wrong necessarily? I broke my leg. So
well, maybe this is his time to shine. Maybe this is his time to say, "Hey,
that's what I'm saying.
Do what Purdy did."
They have not been. His record as a starter has been abysmal.
Yeah.
But if you just look at stats, Brock Purdy is the runaway winner.
It's not even close. Yeah.
Not even close. I don't have to look it up to tell you that by landslide, Purdy's stats are. This kid they were actually talking about him being offensive rookie of the year in a 6 week or 8 week, however many week span that he played. Like I think he probably got some votes. I didn't go down far enough, but he may have gotten some votes.
He could have. He did a good job, and
he did an absolute. I mean, when that happened, when Garoppolo went down, everybody thought the 49ers were done. They thought that the Rams could still win that division, even though they were terrible. Or Seattle could win that division. You know, they thought Geno Smith, all he's going to have to do was win 8 or 9 games because they didn't think the 49ers were going to win again. And not only did they win, I mean, they blew out Tampa. They blew out Deal. They ran through the playoffs. This kid did everything. And if he doesn't get hurt, that game in Philadelphia is a totally different game. I think.
Yeah, it's a lot closer. I
think Philadelphia still wins the way they played, but it's a whole lot closer than the blowout when you can't throw the ball the entire second half.
Did you hear what's his face? I forget who was. Someone who played football was out there criticizing Brock Purdy for not playing him through his injury. I'm like, he's got to miss 6 months with surgery, and you're mad that he couldn't finish the football game? Like, what are we talking about here, man?
Yeah, when I heard it was the UCL, I mean, that's basically the same injury that Josh Allen had and didn't sit out, but clearly affected. And I don't think Allen's was as bad as Purdy's. Purdy's is a complete.
I think Purdy's ripped it, like completely
tore it
right
not
off.
Strained it, didn't ding it up. You know, that's why they were massaging it. They were hoping that it was just, dead. Like it was like it had been deadened.
Like you hit your elbow, your funny bone.
Like a funny bone, and it's up your hand, and eventually it comes back, and you're like, hey, guys, I'm good. And that was never the case because, they did go take him and MRI it. When they MRI'd it, they were like, no, that's why it didn't ever recover, because it was all damaged up. So, yeah, that's hopefully this works out for them and training camp and everything lines up. But again, if I'm the organization, the brass in that organization, that's a decision I don't want to make, man. You put yourself between a real rock and a hard place with a guy you gave up a ton of
a
picks
ton.
and everything for.
Are you just
And
gonna wash that and put that
and you're
sweep
gonna
that under
wash
the
that
carpet? Yeah,
and pit Mr. Irrelevant, who was the last pick, who's a guy in anybody else that's been picked in that spot. I don't think there's another Mr. Irrelevant on an active roster right now.
that way you've ever heard. I mean,
And
who?
like not even on the active roster right now. Like maybe a practice squad somewhere, but definitely not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, this is news the Packers fans didn't want to hear. Brian Flores signs as the defensive coordinator of the Vikings. This is not good for the North. This guy's a great coach. As far as scheme, he knows he's a defensive minded guru. I liked his job he did there in Miami, other than belittling his quarterback. But he goes over and he goes through the whole suing the NFL, which I guess it's still an ongoing situation.
Which is a surprise to me.
Yeah,
That
he gets
that here he is on another staff.
yeah, as a
You know,
prominent coach. Like
yeah, he's not the wide receivers coach. He's not a guy that's in the back. He literally is one of the top, deal.
Yeah.
And he's while he's suing the NFL. That is because I really thought once he did that he kind of blacklisted himself.
Yeah, and I think when he was hired on the Steelers, I was like, Mike Tomlin's doing him a favor, right? Like, we got to get this guy back in the NFL. He's just too good. He was the linebackers coach over there, and which was a demotion, right, for him especially. But it's good that teams that they went out and got him. I just don't want to see him in my division because he's going to turn that defense around. They were literally the worst defense, one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
The leader of the head coaching deal in Arizona, and I believe it's just nobody wants to work with Kyler.
No one.
And that's why they're having trouble filling that spot, because by now all the head coaching vacancies are normally filled by the Super Bowl or shortly after. They're normally filled, and Arizona, I haven't heard anything.
They're gonna have to promote their special teams coach or what?
I mean, that or go get Kingsbury back, which
No, you hear about him?
Pierce, I sure did. That
say it.
That whole I'm not gonna coach thing is quickly ending because it looks like Houston is trying to make him the OC.
And I like that pairing. You got D'Amico Ryan, and then you got Cliff Kingsbury there as a strong.
Here's the defensive guru as the head coach. You're going to have a defensive coordinator, and they're going to help each other, and then have the wizard over here run the offense, and you have a high draft pick.
Yeah, and if the organization doesn't,
torpedo it
like usual, then we'll see. My buddy Alex, this goes out to you, Alex, if you're listening. Well, you will listen at some point. You don't listen live, but he wanted my opinion on Dallas Cowboys hiring Brian Schottenheimer as an offensive coordinator. My opinion of it is it's not a super exciting hire. It's just a guy that was working there. He's offensive consultant for them last year. He's familiar with the Cowboys. I don't think it's a bad hire. It's just not something that Cowboy fans are probably jumping for joy. Here's your good note. Schottenheimer has worked with the following quarterbacks: Drew Brees, Doug Flutie, Phillip Rivers, Brett Favre, Mark Sanchez, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, and Trevor Lawrence. He's worked with all these quarterbacks. So that bodes well for you. Maybe he can come in and help Dak a little bit, understand the offense better. This new offense he's going to have to learn. It's a different system. Maybe he can help him transition a little bit better, help him not throw those interceptions. Maybe he turns Dak, gets him to another level. I don't know, but I'm not super excited about it. But it's not a terrible hire.
Well, what I'm reading is basically, while the puppet was saying, we want Dak to be more aggressive. Well, Dak throws 14 interceptions, and what I'm reading is they basically blamed Kellen and said the Kellen offense was too aggressive. So this guy is going to be more of your safety net. They're going to throw more slants. They're going to throw more screens. They're going to throw more. They're not going to be, I'm going down the field and trying to get big chunks at a time offense. And so they're going to change their entire way of the draft, the people they're looking for in the draft, the people they're looking for in free agency. They're basically saying that Keenan Allen or Michael Thomas would be good fits for the Dallas, that other wide receiver, because
Keenan Allen would be great.
Because they run those slants. They basically, the big bodied, the guys that can run the slants and run the deal. And San Diego is going to let him go supposedly because they are 30 something million over the cap. And they sign, if they let him go, they save like 20 of that right now, like immediately. So that's what I'm hearing, is you're not going to have the down the field, the deep digs, the routes that he was throwing the picks on. It's going to be much more of a short drag route, like the things that he's more comfortable with. And I don't know if that's the case or not, but that was what McCarthy ran in Green Bay, was a lot of your slants and a lot of your, he didn't go down the field a lot because you didn't have.
He took the shots when
They're
he set
given
them
to you,
up. Yeah,
when they're one on one, and then and I think maybe that's what they're doing. These routes here, they bring the safeties, they bring everybody down, and then you take your shot over the top. But it's not going to be the deep slants. The tight end's going to be more involved. Your slant or your slot receiver is going to be more involved. You don't need this high powered deal. You need a good running game, and I don't know what they're going to do with that. I don't know if the there's multiple reports that they're planning on franchise tagging Pollard. I really hope that isn't the case. While Tony Pollard was good, the number that the franchise tag carries with it for a running back is more than what Pollard needs to make. Where you could get a running back in the draft for $700,000. We're going to disagree on where we could get a running back on, but
yeah, we will disagree.
For $700,000, I can tell you right now a name that I would pull off the top of my head that would fit in that offense, that if he is there, please sign me up. So
yeah, we've talked.
Yeah, so
we've had that.
You could pay that guy in 5 years what you're going to pay Tony Pollard in 1, and so it's going to be interesting because I believe Mike McCarthy's job comes with this hire. I believe
it does.
The way they've set this up is
you're
by him
right.
calling plays, that this Schottenheimer hire, you're putting your job in this guy's hands.
This was all the moves leading up to all this, getting rid of guys, getting rid of his right-hand man. And I think that's still the same reason you're still holding on to Dan Quinn is, hey,
Yes.
got to give Mike McCarthy 1 more year. I'm going to take away his safety nets. I'm going to take away those things. The offensive coordinator hire is just a guy. It's something where they didn't have to put a lot of thought in. Hey, this guy's here. He's familiar. He can help integrate your offense. He can help integrate the week by week. And we're gonna put it all on Mike McCarthy's play calling and time management skills. And if it doesn't work out this next season, then Dan Quinn will be the head coach, I believe.
Head coach. I that 100%. Because Kellen would have been the only other person in the organization that would have taken the job when he was gone.
And you said something earlier about how they were blaming Kellen because it's too aggressive, and that's why Dak do picks. If that's the explanation, I think it's absolute trash.
I think that they used him as the scapegoat because
it could have been.
I think that's what it was.
And maybe I don't want to not be an aggressive offense because my quarterback can't do that. Then you need to change quarterbacks. But you also need, it's a fine balance between that and also knowing what your quarterback strengths are and doing a game plan for him. The Eagles have done a very fantastic job with that. With
100%. Jalen Hurts was not an MVP candidate before Sirianni got there and brought his guys. Daniel Jones was not anything until Dayball got there and went to his strengths. That's all I'm saying. Is I'm not saying that Dak Prescott can't make those throws, but Prescott can make those throws when he's protected and when he's running an offense that he's more comfortable with. And all of a sudden, I mean, he ran Kellen Moore's offense for years and they've won 12 games.
Yeah.
He can run it, but he has to have a better situation. Just like Daniel Jones had to have a better situation around him.
Yeah.
Coaching matters. 100%.
Look at, and I think it matters.
Better hope Bieniemy doesn't ever leave Patrick Mahomes, because that'll be the real test. I understand that he lost his wide receiver and all this, but if Eric Bieniemy ever leaves Kansas City and then Patrick Mahomes goes on his world tour, then he's the real deal, because Eric Bieniemy doesn't get any credit. There's a reason that Kansas City's not letting him leave. You know, that
I'm surprised someone hasn't snatched him up yet.
I really thought that would be the name in Houston with D'Amico Ryans. I really thought that would be the name. Yeah. And so that tells me that either he doesn't want to go because Kansas City's giving him a bunch of money, or that he's really terrible at interviewing and deal. Because all these jobs come up, and it's every year you hear Bieniemy, and then all of a sudden he just doesn't go anywhere.
When we talk about coaching matters, great example, Tua Tagovailoa.
100%.
Brian Flores tears him down, tells him I should have drafted Mac Jones. You're garbage, and they fire him. They interview for head coaches, and I love what Mike Daniels did. Everyone else that they interviewed said, they probably asked him, "Do you think you can win with Tua?" And they were like, "Well, I don't know. Well, yeah, maybe." Mike Daniels took a playbook. He went in there with 700 things and said, "I can do this with Tua Tagovailoa.
I will make him better than he was at Alabama."
And he came out this season, and if it wasn't for his concussions,
he did exactly what he said he was going to do.
And that is
for
coaching.
For the first how many weeks? 7 weeks we were talking about Tua would be in the MVP discussion.
Yeah, they were talking about Miami fighting the Bills for the division.
100%.
Coaching matters.
Yes.
And to be a great coach as a head coach.
The Dallas Cowboys have it.
Yeah. I don't think so either. But we've seen what McCarthy can do.
Yeah.
And there's a stat out there that says if you get a new head coach and you don't win a Super Bowl in 3 years, no one's won one after. So I think this is kind of his timeline. And I think when you look at Jerry Jones,
in fairness, one of those years he lost his quarterback.
In fairness, yes,
that many games, 8-9 games.
Fairness, yes, and he's been injured. He missed 4 or 5 games this last season too, and they were lucky that the defense played so good that Cooper Rush was able to not lose him anything.
Yes.
But Jerry Jones,
they went through helped. They played Cincinnati at a time when Cincinnati was in shambles. If they played the Cincinnati team that finished on a 10-game win streak, they don't win that game. They get blown. Yeah, they get mollywopped. They if they play these teams at a different time, then they don't go 5-0, and Cooper Rush isn't the savior of the world. But that's beside the point.
I just think this is it's time, and Jerry Jones has mentioned plenty of times he's running out of time. And so
Father Time is undefeated, Jerry.
Yeah. Just like that the passenger seat over there in the garbage truck.
Undefeated. Never lost.
Never lost. Well, speaking of quarterbacks here, Commanders say that the quarterback one going into next season will be Sam Howell. Rivera came out and said that they won't spend a lot of money bringing a veteran in like they did last year on Wentz, and that Howell will have to continue to prove himself to get the spot. The rumors are that this kid's the next big deal, and that Washington's kind of been holding him down and not giving him a shot. So we shall see. But they're kind of putting all their eggs in the Sam Howell basket. If he doesn't pan out, what are we looking at?
If you are that guy that has been there, if you are Heineke, are you not just?
I'm out. I'm out. I'm
I
done. Get me
mean,
out of here. I'm
are
not
you
stepping on the
kidding
field
me right
again.
now? Like, what do I have to do now? If you want to be Rivera and you want to say these are my two guys and we're going into camp and it's going to be a QB battle, all right, I
That's
get it.
fine. Definitely, yeah.
But to sit here and go, this is my guy. All my chips are in the, Sam Howell basket. Taylor Heineke's going, and that's why Heineke said, "I'm not playing the last game. Let him
Yeah.
play
Yeah, he needs a
because
shot.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. If you want to, I came in and I saved your season, and we were about to make the playoffs, and you went back to Wentz over me." And then the
Because you
last
didn't
week,
realize that we were going
because
to
you
be
didn't,
eliminated.
because you were living under a rock and you didn't understand playoff percentages.
I'm really
And,
surprised he wasn't fired this year.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, what kind of organization? Well, that whole thing's going to change in March because he's
It's
fixing
not
to sell
good
the
for
team.
you that he's selling. It's not good for you
No,
as a
because
Cowboy fan of division.
that's been 2 free wins a year.
Yeah.
But if I'm Taylor Heineke, I don't want anything to do with the Washington Commanders
No,
because
I'm demanding a trade. Get me
yes,
out of here. I'll
get
go
me
be
out
a
of here.
backup
Cut
somewhere
me,
else.
do something because I at least want a shot. And I've won football games. I've saved your season. I've done all the things you've asked me to do, and you completely overstepped me in this organization. I'm out.
Yep. Exactly right. I saw something the other day in the next headline here that is horrible for us football fans. Roger Goodell says the NFL officiating has never been better. Backs them
Clearly, he
100%.
didn't watch the 2 championship games.
No, he did not. And this is the problem with the NFL. The problem is when you can never admit when they never admit they're wrong, nothing's going to be fixed. And that's the whole issue. I was fine with the being able to challenge a pass interference call, but when the refs go out there and they look at it and they go, "We're never wrong," and they never change, then it's pointless.
Yeah.
I don't know what the ego chip of these refs are, what the ego chip of Roger Goodell is on that refs can't get. We're humans. We make mistakes. You go out there and you go, it's a bang bang play, and you call it one way and they challenge it, and you're like, oh, my bad, guys. Integrity of the game. We should be making every right call by the rule. This instead they go out there and they go, nah, I'm not wrong. And then they double down on it, and as long as they got the backing of the commissioner, and nothing's going to change. And that's the problem with the NFL officiating is they never admit they're wrong, and if they don't ever think they're wrong, they don't think there's nothing that needs to be changed, and that's the issue. And it sucks.
Yeah, I did like, and I hope this stays, that in several positions in the playoffs, they use the expedited review and were like, hey, you guys got it wrong. The guy in the sky calls down and buzzes the ref and stops the deal, and you didn't have to waste a challenge. You said, hey, we got it wrong. That deal. Where I would have liked to see that was the Philadelphia catch. I would have liked to see the guy buzz down and go, hey, you got that wrong. So I'd like to see more of that. I would like to see that used on a broader spectrum and catch. Like if there's something we show on replay, if Fox or CBS or something shows you a camera angle that I understand you're not getting all the camera angles. Like that guy that made the Devontae Smith call. I'm not blaming him that he got it wrong. He was standing on the back side, and it wasn't until Fox had the camera that looked from the front side that showed Devontae Smith bobble.
The ball moved.
So there's zero chance the guy behind saw that. There's no chance that ref saw it. There's no other ref from the other side to look. So that's what the cameras are for. You use those, you get it right. So I would like to see more of those. I would also like to see Roger Goodell be honest. Roger Goodell straight up he said when if you remember back years ago when we had the official strike or whatever, he said that the other refs were doing just a fine job. And then all of a sudden the Green Bay thing happens.
Yeah, you're welcome, NFL.
Yeah. then all of a sudden,
The Phil Mary.
yeah, the that happens, and the next week all the real refs are back. So, but the bottom line is these guys have been terrible. They have been. Then I understand it's all about. I understand people are human. People make mistakes. Da 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 da. You're gonna have probably one every game that you can question.
A couple.
You're gonna probably every game you're gonna have something you can question. And I get it. Normally they're both sides. Normally it equals out. Normally it doesn't even play into the final effect of the game. Like you can there's multiple calls in the Dallas game on both sides that could have gone the other way. But I'm not saying that's the reason Dallas lost to San Francisco. They played a horrible game, and yes, there could have been a couple situations where a couple calls could have been changed. But like the George Kittle thing, like did he really line up in a covered up, and that's fine. But the bottom line is it needs to be consistent, and right now it's not.
Well,
and they would not admit that. That's the biggest travesty.
And what's mind blowing is they have the technology to fix this, and
that's
they just don't.
They have the sky in the sky. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that I'm not a big advocate of the XFL, but that's the one thing that they do better than the NFL is they get the call right.
Yeah, they make sure it's right.
They make sure it's right.
And while we're trying to fix the NFL here, they have the technology to show where the ball is on the field at all times. Why are we using chains? Why are we using, hey, this is a jumble up at the goal line. Where's that ball at?
Index cards.
In tennis. Yeah, index cards. In tennis they can challenge something and it pinpoints exactly. Why don't they use that?
Yeah.
Why don't they use that?
100%. And what game was it that the chains got all mangled up and looked like your garden hose or your Christmas lights that you've been in the garage for 12 months, and it's a big ball
and they had
of Christmas lights.
It was the Bills. I think it was the Bills game.
Go get new chains and think they had enough links in them. Stop. Yeah, stop. And the thing of it is, like I said, if Goodell would have just come out and said, "Listen, I understand there's been some calls that in the thing, while I support my guys in the NFL and I support my referees, it's something we're going to take a look at in the offseason." That's all he had to say.
Yeah.
All he had to say is
we're constantly working at getting better. That's it.
We're constantly putting these guys through different programs, and we're gonna do our due diligence to look into this and streamline it and make it better each year. That's all he had to say. But to sit here and go, it's the best it's ever been. Roger, calm down. No, it's not. It might be the worst it's ever been. So by doing that, he just brought up all the eyes and all the attention. It's just like when Rafael Palmeiro went in front of Congress and banged his fist on the table and went, "I have never done steroids." Well, guess what? You failed the test 2 weeks later. Like, you don't bring attention to yourself that you just don't need to. Like the second you double down and the second you are adamant about something like that, you're bringing all the attention into this, not only to the NFL, but to this one subject.
You're exactly right. Let's see. Craig, I got to leave the show for a second. You take over. I'll be right back.
All right. So the NFL has removed Michael Irvin from the NFL Network over a accusation of something that happened in the hotel he was staying in when he got to the Super Bowl. He got to the Super Bowl on Sunday or Monday, went to dinner with an ex-Cowboys teammate, and he comes back to the hotel, and there's police, and there's investigators, and Irvin seems dumbfounded and they have a meeting. They talk with the woman. They talk with him, and it ends with the female and Michael Irvin shaking hands and parting ways. Well, so Irvin thinks I'm good. I don't, deal. Well, comes to find out that this woman has accused him, and there's nothing in detail yet of what exactly she's just saying that he did something improper. This all came out when he has a weekly interview on 105.3 with Sean and RJ, and they ask him how it was going and ask him if they can meet for dinner and have dinner at the Super Bowl because they're covering the Super Bowl. And he's like, I'm trying to lay low. I've had to move hotels. I've had a big ordeal. And they're like, ordeal? He's like, yeah, we'll talk about it later. It's just deal. Well, that comes out that morning that the NFL has removed him from all Super Bowl coverage. He will not be on the NFL Network. He will not be anywhere covering the Super Bowl. Today it comes out that Michael Irvin goes and files a $100 million lawsuit against the Marriott, against the hotel manager, against this female for defamation of character and that you're costing me my job. And so I'm not sure clearly Irvin doesn't think he did anything wrong. He thinks that this woman is making things up. Irvin has not had the cleanest path. He had trouble when he left Dallas. He's had drug problems. He's had trouble with people in his house, trouble with people in his hotel rooms. So you hope that this is what Irvin says it is and is something that is just a misunderstanding or supposedly it was over all buying a drink and drinks and it's a misunderstanding. But so Michael Irvin will not be covering the Super Bowl at all on the NFL Network because of the accusations this woman made and because of what the NFL, the information, they feel that they have enough that they removed him from the coverage. They don't want this to be a highlight. They don't want him to be on the TV and fans to be criticizing them for why is he on TV when he has accusations of this going on.
So real quick, Craig, sorry, because I didn't hear much of this. I hadn't had the radio on this week. Give me what happened with Michael Irving? A brief. I know you just talked about it, but a brief.
So
a woman in the lobby of a hotel.
He gets to Phoenix on Sunday, and he checks in his hotel. He checks in the Marriott, and he goes to dinner with an ex-Dallas Cowboy teammate, and meets him, and they have dinner. They have drinks. Well, he comes back to the hotel, and there's cops and this lady, and they're all in the lobby, and Irvin's like, "What the hell's going on?" And they pull him to the side. They pull her to the side. They get stories. What ends with these two shaking hands. And hey, thanks. And they go their separate ways. So Irvin thinks nothing of it. Well, he comes on Wednesday on Sean and RJ. And Sean and RJ are like, Playmaker, how's it going? Hey, we're in town. We want to meet. If you got a night, we leave Friday. If you got a night that you can hang out and have dinner, we're going to pick up the tab. Me and RJ are going to pick up the tab. Deal. And Michael goes, hey guys, I'm going to lay low. There's some things that happen, and I'm kind of on the down low right now. And Sean and them are like, what, Mike, what's going on? And he's like, I just can't. There's a lot going on. I'm trying to keep it off the radar. I'm going to be I've had to change hotels. I've had to do this. I've had to do that. And then, so they go, I've searched the internet. I can't find anything that he's talking about. And about 2 hours later, bang, NFL Network pulls Michael Irvin from their coverage for the Super Bowl. The lady is accusing him of accusations of improper behavior towards her. This, that, the other. Then today it comes out that he's filing $100 million lawsuit against the Marriott, against her, against, anybody that's involved. And so Irvin hasn't had the greatest past.
Yeah.
He's had infidelity problems. He's had drug problems. He's had, he's had his name in the highlight for the wrong reasons several times. You hope from a standpoint of that he's a broadcaster in the NFL, that this is just somebody trying to bring, they knew Irvin was there. They
a quick get rich scheme.
Yes, that's what you hope for. But
is she accusing, like, what is she accusing him of?
That's the thing, is it's just improper behavior. There's nothing about he tried to sleep with me, he tried to do this, he supposedly all over something about buying a drink. Like somebody wanted to buy Michael a drink and he said no, and then all of a sudden something else happened.
Like butthurt.
Basically, it sounds to me like she was trying to come at him and he said, no, I don't want any of it. I'm here with my guy. I'm having dinner. I'm going back to my hotel. And she knew which hotel he was staying at. And it sounds like they got in an elevator together. And that's when she made the accusation of something happened in the elevator.
Well, there's film. There'll be a
100%. But what I'm saying was there wasn't enough there when they pulled the two to the side and had their individual interviews. There wasn't enough there for law enforcement to go, Mike, you need to come with us. We're going to book you. We're going to do this. There wasn't enough there. They brought them together. They said, okay, listen, this was a misunderstanding, clearly. I need you to go your way. I need you to go your way. Mike said, I'm done. I'm not staying in this hotel. I'm going to go stay in another hotel. They moved him to another hotel where he, of course, didn't say, I'm staying at the Hyatt now. He didn't want anybody to know where he was at. And clearly on Wednesday, when he was on the interview, he didn't think this was going to be a big deal. And then 2 hours later, I don't know. My question is, if he just goes on Sean and RJ and doesn't say anything and doesn't bring this event up, because Bobby searched Google, NFL Network, this, that, searched everywhere, and there was no story of this. There was no recollection of the police coming, no recollection of a lady, no recollection of accusations. There was nothing. 2 hours after he goes on the radio and talks about this incident, the NFL's like, all right, well, now you brought it up. So now you brought it to light. Now people are talking about it. So now here we go.
Yeah.
And they pulled him from the coverage and everything like that.
And you can't have
I personally think if he goes on Sean and RJ and just does a regular interview and doesn't mention this situation, that he probably gets away with it and it goes away and you don't hear anything. But the second that he brought it to 1,000-watt station where everybody could hear it, and they're at the Super Bowl where they're broadcasting, deal, everybody heard about it. Everybody started asking questions, and now it brought the NFL to light, and they just didn't want it, and so they removed him.
Yeah, they don't need
that the bad publicity,
yeah, they don't want that. So
that's what I believe, is that it was just because he brought light to it, and they were like, well, now Mike, we have to do something about it. We weren't going to do nothing about it, but you brought it to everybody's attention on the one of the top 10 radio stations in the country, and so people listen to that, and so now this, and that's what I believe. I believe it's probably a money grab, something. He'll be back on the NFL Network next year, and by the time football season comes back around, this will be a non-story. Right. But for now, Michael Irvin, you will not see Michael Irvin in the NFL Network or anywhere in Super Bowl coverage for this weekend.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for filling in that information, because I didn't really know what it was about. I just know accusations. I didn't really know what. So, we got one more football here before we get into some big, huge basketball news. Well, actually, we'll get a little bit of baseball, and then we'll come into basketball. But this is college related. They got Texas and Oklahoma. Did you talk about that before the Michael Irvin?
Nope.
Okay. Texas and Oklahoma leaving a year early and will pay the Big 12 $100 million to do so. And me and you kind of laughed about this, because I'm like, you're paying $100 million to leave early to go lose in the SEC.
To go get the brakes beat off of it in the SEC.
Talk about. I know you know more about this story than I do. Talk about the Michigan, and I don't know what the whole Michigan game has to do with
I don't know
with
what
it,
it.
but
I don't know what it has to do with allowing to leave early. There's Fox money involved somewhere. What it was is Michigan has agreed to a home and home over the next deal. 2024 was supposed to be in Texas. 2027, Texas was supposed to go to the big house. Well, now they've flipped that. In 2024, Texas is going to the big house. In 2027, Michigan will come to Austin. Why that flip flop of how we're playing these caused this to be the driving factor in Fox allowing this to happen and the money to take place. I still haven't figured out what the Big Ten and the SEC playing a non-conference game has to. I mean, why? Whether it's in Austin or whether it's in Michigan,
yeah,
I don't understand why that has anything to do with it. But that is what they're saying, is that Fox having Michigan agree to flip flop and having Texas go to the big house in 24 and Texas or in Michigan coming to Austin in 2027. That said, okay, Fox is on board, and now we're going to allow these teams out of their contract a year early. And
when was the big? When were they allowed? When were they supposed to leave the Big 12? 2020.
Well, it's supposed to be after the 25 season. It was supposed to be the start of 26.
Because they talked about. It's funny because they talked about how if they didn't get out of it early, then the Manning, what's his first name? That's there at Texas.
Arch
wouldn't even face the SEC team until his last year, or he wouldn't face SEC for like 2 years.
Well, no, yeah, because they redshirted him.
So,
they redshirted him last year, so he still has 4 years of eligibility, which he won't see all 4 years. But he wouldn't have. He might not have, because he could have technically played his freshman and sophomore seasons,
and then went to the NFL,
went to the NFL and never faced the SEC. He could have, by all legal standards. This allows it to where his sophomore season he will play the SEC.
He'll play there.
And
Texas plays A&M or not A&M. Don't they play Alabama next year? I think they play Alabama game 2 of the season or something like that. This next season.
It's very possible because that would have been one of those that we agreed to non-conference home and home. Probably agreed to a home and home before this was ever a thing.
Yeah,
trying to get themselves better coverage, trying to get themselves into the college football playoff.
I saw the schedule and I said, "Oh man, Alabama's game 2 or 3 this season. That's going to be one to watch." So, I just think it's funny, and because Texas and Oklahoma haven't really, they've been good, but they haven't really dominated the Big 12. They had, they haven't won national championships in a long time, and now you're going to go play with the big dogs, and it's like I don't know how you're going to win there, but
yeah, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Yeah. And it's pretty ballsy, and I think it's kind of I think it's dumb, but it's kind of a kudos move at the same time. You want to go face the best of the best. You want to be, you know what I mean? So it's interesting. We'll see how they pan out there, and good luck. We do have one baseball story here. Well, I guess 2 if you want to mention Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette signs a 3-year deal with Toronto. It's good news for them. Bo Bichette's a pretty good player. And then the Padres and Yu Darvish signed a 6-year, $108 million deal. Probably finish his career there. If he's all 6 years, he's a solid pitcher.
He's been okay since he's gone there. He's been He hasn't been Cy Young type deal,
no,
but he's been solid.
He's been solid.
He hasn't had a lot of injuries. He's been the workhorse that you want. He's got the 100 innings a year, or the 150, whatever you would want your one of your main guys to be. And so um he that's what he's been. He's been solid. He hasn't
Yeah.
been great, but he's been solid, and that's
Yeah.
basically what they're paying him. He's
And he's good.
been,
He's
you
good for the
know, yeah.
organization. They're trying to put a team together.
Well, and
If
that's with what they have with the Machado and
Soto,
Soto, and you're getting um
steroid guy back
yeah,
from a
cheater
cream.
cheater cheater boy back from his ringworm. You're getting him back, and um so there's that. That team is all in. I
Yeah.
mean, the GM up there, AJ Preller has sold his soul and is trying to make this work. Of course, the Tatis thing blowing up, it didn't work last year. Being a Giants fan in the division, I hope the whole thing implodes. Um, but
Very well
Darvish is
could.
solid.
Yeah.
Darvish is solid. So, I mean, I don't see any reason why not to give him the money. There was somebody that was going to give him the money. Why not keep him in San Diego for that?
All right, let's get into the basketball news. There's been basketball news all over the place. We're going to break down here the biggest two trades. There's been a lot of trades. I feel like a lot of them are really not too big.
547 second round picks switching hands,
Yeah.
like they're treating them like they're monopoly money. Um,
Kyrie Irving first gets traded to the
yeah,
Mavericks.
yeah,
And
they give up Highway King's ransom for him.
they give
But
Dinwiddie, Finney Smith, 2 first-round picks. When I first heard we're interested, they were always been this interest of Dallas is interested in Kyrie Irving. And I'm like, no, this isn't happening. That was like last year, I think. And then this year it pops up again. I'm like, no, it isn't happening. And it happened. And at first I said, this is stupid. This is dumb. I hate it. I hate Kyrie. Kyrie is a mental. I've called. He's a cancer to every team he goes to. This will blow up eventually. He will blow up eventually. The ticking time bomb, basically, and it depends on how long you have with him. There's no argument here of Kyrie Irving on the basketball court. There's only 5 players in the NBA this season that's averaging 27.5 points or more, and I think it's like 5 rebounds, 5 assists a game. We got 2 of them, Luka and Kyrie. Pairing these 2 guys together is on the basketball court. Well, it's going to be fun to watch.
maybe
I'm going to stay positive with this because I'm going to use my Ranger kind of optimism here because what did I say when we went out and spent money on the Grom, who's always hurt, spent a lot of money. I said, look, I cannot complain and get mad and yell at our owners for not spending money and then get mad when they do. Because Mark Cuban is terrible at contracts. He's been terrible at getting his team help. This is kind of the only move they had to go to. And if it doesn't work, Kyrie Irving could walk out of the building at the end of the season, leave and go to LA like he wants to, and the Mavericks will have pretty close to a max spot. So to try and get a star in here with Luka. That's the beneficial part of this, in my opinion. We got rid of the contracts of Dinwiddie and Finney Smith, and losing the first round picks is gonna be hurt. It's gonna hurt us. Mark Cuban doesn't care about drafting players. He just doesn't.
they have not the last several years.
They haven't.
Luca would have been the only draft pick they used correctly.
And so I'm going to go that route with it. I'm not going to get all negative and mad about it. I'm going to hope it pans out and maybe we give him an extension. Maybe we don't. But when it first broke, I did not like it. I did not like it one bit. And then I said, well, what else decision do they have? Because the team they had with Luka playing every minute of every game, it was not going to work.
The team you had, that's 100%, was not going to go anywhere in the playoffs. The last year with the team they had, the Western Conference Final was a lucky run. You ran into the right team at the right time. You got a lucky break in the first round that the team you played imploded. You got lucky against Phoenix that they were imploding themselves with Ayton and all that drama that they had going on over there. So that run was not really where you stood in the pecking order of the Western Conference. We all agree. Kyrie Irving, since the suspension for the anti-Semitic comments and Twitter and everything, has been a class act. He's done everything that the organization asked him to, wasn't on the radar, just played basketball, played really good basketball. If he's that guy, okay.
Well,
my question is, how does this fit? Because now you have two guys that both bring the ball up the floor, both want the ball in their hand, both want to be the leader of the offense. Who's gonna be the non-alpha and take back the pace at which Kyrie plays and the pace at which Luka plays are two totally different things. You saw it the other night. Everybody's like, whoa, why are we bringing the ball up the floor so fast? When Luka brings the ball up the floor, he's across the timeline at the timeline deadline. When Kyrie brings the ball up the floor, we're down here, we're in the offense, we're going, we're go. Two different styles. So it's going to be interesting when they finally play together, which will not be tonight.
I haven't seen yet.
It will not be tonight.
Yeah, he's out.
Luka went out and tested his heel contusion and it was still sore. He's not going to play tonight. He might play in Sacramento. Probably not. Chances are they're not on the floor together till Monday when they come back home. But when they do get on the floor together, it'll be interesting to see how it works. I think this gives you a better team than you had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it does anything for you in your playoff run.
It does nothing for you on defense.
It does nothing for you on defense. You are the worst defensive metric team in the NBA. And Dallas was already not great because they were letting up 100,000 points to the Golden State Warriors the other night after three quarters. Like they had 70, 80 points in like three quarters. It was just like, we're going to score 150 on you. There's nothing you can do about it. But I say that, and you came out against Utah with five guys and their scrubs and beat a Utah team that is top ranked in the West. And when you have five guys that try, then you can be a average defense. They let up 102 points. They rebounded okay. But you got to have five guys that buy in.
Yeah.
Apparently, Dorian Finney-Smith and them, they didn't buy in because they were just letting people run by them.
And Christian, the whole Christian Wood thing is mind-boggling me.
It is.
They're trying to trade him. They gave him an extension.
Now they try to offer him an extension. I'm confused at what you want to do there. He's
a great third piece.
He's better off the bench. Doesn't want to start. He gets in foul trouble. The bottom line is you have not been able to, as the Dallas Mavericks, you've never, ever, ever been able to land the big name free agent. This has started from Dwight Howard. This has started from when they had the big guy from the Clippers, and they went to his house and he agreed to the contract, and then he went and
his name? I know what you're talking about.
And went and locked himself in his house and hid from Mark Cuban. Like, this has never been
Darren Williams. They said Darren Williams. Yeah. Like, well, Mark Cuban was there instead of at Shark Tank. Got to be a Dallas Maverick, and he
didn't. And so Cuban's number one priority in life has always been entrepreneurship, has always been business. That's why the organization had the problems in the front office with the scandals, because he's just never around. He's doing so many, he's got so many irons on the fire that he's just being pulled in 1,000 different ways. Now, the one thing I did hear in all this is that Cuban was taking heat all this time for never wanting to go into luxury tax and never wanting to build a team and never wanting to spend money. Before they traded Finney Smith and Neal, they were $31 million into the luxury tax. By getting rid of those two contracts, now they're not. So Cuban was spending money that the fans were unaware of. He was paying a luxury tax with the team you had.
They just spend it. They just give the money
spend
to
it
these
in the
bad
wrong
clients,
ways.
bad contracts. Yeah,
The Tim Hardaway contract was horrific,
terrible. That guy's
terrible.
That guy's trash.
He's a backup. You know, he doesn't play defense real well. He kind of shoots, but he's a ball hog. Like, it wasn't worth the money deal, but you didn't want to lose him, so you threw a bunch of money at him.
That's why. That's probably why I didn't play Brunson. Now,
and that's, you were never going to get Brunson. His dad works for the Knicks. Stop. He was going to New York.
I never wanted Brunson because he never.
Hold on, though.
Overpay for him.
Yeah, hold on though. The season he's having in New York, he's an all-star.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have that season here with Luka.
Well, no, and that's why he left. Because he wasn't going to be the number one. He wanted to be the guy with the ball, and that's what I'm afraid with Kyrie. Is you're going to have two guys that are banging ahead like Rams.
What I like with Kyrie,
Luka has supported this, but he hasn't supported it because he ain't been on the floor with him yet.
What I like with Kyrie is he's a guy that he will work off the ball, and he can run, and he can run the offense when Luka's gone. When they had Porzingis, and I watched those play, and Luka goes sit out, Porzingis wasn't the guy with the ball in his hand. I'm like, no, he's not your number two.
You never had a back. Well, he was the number two.
But I know, but he never.
You have to have a sufficient backup point guard, and you didn't have that. You didn't have anybody could get Porzingis the ball while Luka was out.
Well, and Porzingis never took over the game. I've never saw him go, I'm going to take over. And it wasn't that.
He's hurt. He's
a waste.
He's the Anthony Davis of deal. Like, he's just not going to.
Street clothes number 2.
Yes, yeah. He's.
We got another trade, which surprised me because I thought it's Kevin Durant goes to the Phoenix, but I thought Kevin Durant needed to stay in Brooklyn for his legacy. The Suns get Durant and T.J. Warren, and the Nets get Cameron Johnson, Michael Bridges, Jay Crowder, 4 first-round picks, and then a pick swap in 28.
Which they turned around and sent Crowder away for 5 second-round picks.
Yeah, they sent him away to the Bucks. But I like it for Phoenix. Kevin Durant is the absolute beast on the basketball court. He's a guy that's very sensitive. But that, to me, this makes Phoenix better than the Dallas Mavericks right now.
It makes Phoenix better than anybody in the West, in my opinion.
Chris Paul isn't what he used to be, but he's still efficient.
You talk about a guy that's fallen off the map.
Yeah, Chris Paul has fallen off from what he's been.
Father Time has knocked on Chris Paul's door and said it's time, sir.
But adding Kevin Durant, I think, will give him a little more juice.
Not
so much pressure on him now.
Yeah.
I think that Kevin Durant went behind the scenes and said, "Hey,
DeAndre Jordan is
quietly." There you go. Quietly trade me. Hey, I don't think he came out and was like, "I demand a trade." I put it all over the news. But this was hey.
Once they let Kyrie go,
get me out of here.
He said, "I'm going to." And if I'm the owner of the New Jersey Nets, everybody's fired.
Brooklyn Nets.
Brooklyn's fired.
Yeah, everyone's fired.
Because you had Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, and you did nothing. You didn't make a Eastern Conference Finals. You didn't make an NBA Finals. You didn't do anything.
What was this? This is by far got to be the biggest letdown of a super team that we've ever
Ever.
seen in the history of basketball.
I mean,
And
the Miami Heat didn't win the championship the first year,
yeah,
but they won multiple with that team. You know,
and
every team, the Golden State Warriors, they win multiple championships with their super team. Like that, whoever runs that organization needs to be gutted because you had one of the best teams in basketball. You had 3 top tier superstars in their prime and did nothing. Granted, we're all prima donnas. I get it. But you did nothing. And the rumor is now that watch for Phoenix as a dark horse for Kyrie in the offseason. That he will go back and finish what he started with
he'll
Kevin
basically
Durant.
take over Chris Paul's spot.
Yes.
It depends on if he really wants to go back to work
He wants
in
money.
LA. Yeah.
The one thing about that is I will give and mark this date and time down.
I need to write this. Hold on. I need to write this down.
The one thing LeBron James has done in his time in the NBA is, did you hear anything on the court, off the court, ever about Kyrie Irving when he played with LeBron James?
Nope.
No. He was the best. He won that championship for Cleveland, not LeBron James. He hit the step back shot in Steph's face with very solid defense, and he hit the game winner. And I'm going to tell you right now where this all went awry. Is LeBron goes and takes all the credit and says, I brought Cleveland a championship. And Kyrie goes, hey, but what about, like, I kind of made the shot. I brought Cleveland a championship. Kyrie's like, cool, bro. I'm going to go do my own thing now. If you don't want to include me, I'm going to go be me. And so he left because he didn't get any of the credit and the attention. And all they had to do is say, I brought Cleveland a championship like I promised, but I couldn't have done it without my buddy Kyrie. That's all he had to say. And he didn't. But the time that he was with the time when he was with LeBron, he wasn't a problem. There was none of this flat earth concept. There was none of this Twitter rage. There was none of this vaccination thing. There was not a single word about Kyrie Irving other than he is a blast basketball player. He is a top tier basketball player. And guess what? He's still a top tier basketball player. He just brings too much attention to himself off the court.
It's like Mike Tomlin and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown didn't go 100%. Crazy until he left.
100%.
Now here's the I saw this TikTok and it's the other day and it was genius.
So I think if he goes back to LA, LeBron keeps him under wraps and says, "Listen,
I don't know if he can do that now.
I don't know. He's the only guy that's been able to do it.
Maybe. But here's what's funny about LeBron. Okay. LeBron is a I, me guy all 100%. The way. And it goes to prove it in the game that he broke the scoring record. He broke the record by the third quarter, set out the whole fourth quarter. The team lost the basketball game, and they're fighting for playoff spot. Would Michael Jordan have done that? Michael Jordan broke a record and said, I'm going to sit out the fourth quarter? No.
Did you hear what else he did?
Are you kidding me? No, what else did he do? I know they stopped down the game.
Talk about queen moves of deal. There is a rumor that the week leading up to this deal, he knew he was going to break the record, he knew it was coming, that in practice, he was working on skyhooks.
Oh, God.
To be able to break the record.
With a skyhook.
With a skyhook.
Yeah, guy's a joke.
In honor of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, to you, is that an honor of Kareem, or is that a shot fired over the bow
That's a
that I'm going
slap in
to
the
break
face.
your record with your shot that you created that was not like anything in the NBA?
Yeah.
That to me is just the absolute. Now he didn't do it.
Yeah. And
But
all
that is
these
the LeBron of all LeBron moves.
yeah.
I'm going to break this guy's record by using his move. Stop it.
All these idiots out here going, well, he's got the all-time record. He's the GOAT. And I'm like, wait, Abdul-Jabbar had the all-time record for years. Was he ever the GOAT? He did it without a three-point line.
He's never been in the discussion.
He did it without the three-point line.
Wilt's been in the discussion. Yeah. Michael's been in the discussion. Kobe's in the discussion. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has never been
most underrated basketball player that no one talks
all time.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And never brought any attention to himself. Never. He was not on board with the LeBron thing. He's been against the LeBron deal. He thinks he's tarnished the organization. But guess who was standing there on the sideline at the game? Stops, goes out on the court, and hands LeBron a basketball like I'm passing the torch to you. He does all that because he's a class act. Yeah. Now, is LeBron going to do that when somebody goes and passes him? No. He's not.
No. And it will ever be passed.
He'll say I don't know. I mean, who's going to play 20 years? Who's going to be this kind of a deal? But I promise you, they won't be as big of a prima donna as that guy is.
Can't stand him. And that's one of the reasons we haven't talked about it on the show. We didn't talk about, LeBron. I don't care. The guy, I can't stand him. I can't. And he's the reason I'm not a Laker fan anymore.
I honestly didn't even know it was coming. When I got the alert, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I just heard it on the radio, and that was it. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't care to talk about it. It is what it is. I'm glad we're on the same boat. I'm glad you're not a huge LeBron fan. Can't stand the guy.
I was never really a Jordan fan, to be honest with you. They're both the same guy. They're both taking 30 more shots a game than anybody else. Like it just.
Jordan's way tougher than LeBron was.
100%.
And if Jordan played better nowadays, he would average 50 a game.
He would absolutely.
Not even close.
And the things like Jordan didn't sit games out. He didn't take the night off on a back-to-back. Michael Jordan was amazing. He just took and maybe he took a bunch of shots back in that day because he didn't have a bunch of guys around him that he trusted. I don't know. But Michael's clearly better. But to me, in my opinion, it's always been Kobe. And I understand Kobe mirrored his game after Jordan, and a lot of the moves are the same, and I get it. But Kobe Bryant, to me, is at 18, came in the league and took the league by storm, and he won championships with a good team. He won championships by himself. Other than the Colorado thing, you just didn't hear from him. Did that happen? Didn't that happen? I don't know, but Kobe was just amazing.
I love Kobe Bryant, and he's my favorite player. He's the reason I was a Lakers fan. LeBron's the reason I'm not a Lakers fan anymore.
And like I said, other than the blemish of the Colorado deal, which, did that happen? Didn't it happen? I have no idea.
She said it was rape. He said we had consensual sex.
100%.
I cheated on my wife. They still stayed together.
They still together. He bought her the biggest diamond on the planet at the time.
And
he went and chiseled it out of the rock himself. But the thing of it is with this guy is you'll never see work ethic like him ever again.
No,
and during this Colorado deal, he was flying to Colorado for his court case. And still practicing 3 times a day. Still, he would get up at 5 a.m, go work out, fly to Colorado, recover, go to his court case, come back, work out, go back over here, pick the kids up from school, go back and work out at night. Like, the guy is just, I mean, have you heard the story of the guy walks into the deal and they're playing Kobe that night, and he walks in and he says, I'm going to practice. And so he goes in, and he starts shooting, And Kobe, he starts hearing the basketball bounce, and he's like, Kobe's in here. Okay. So he takes 1,000 shots or whatever. Well, he stops. And for 30 minutes afterwards, Kobe's still practicing. And so he says, he goes, I didn't say anything. He said, we go play the game. He goes, the Lakers beat us. He goes, and after the game, he goes, I go up and ask him. He said, Kobe, why were you in the gym for so long? He said, I saw you come in. I saw you started working. He goes, and I wanted you to know that no matter how hard you work, I'm going to outwork you. And he goes, I'm done. I'm done because it worked. Because you were in my head the whole game of how you stayed in, and I took 1,000 shots, and you stayed in the gym 30 minutes after me.
Yeah,
and
you hear a lot of those stories, and
you hear
awesome.
a ton of those stories.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite one of all time, the favorite Kobe story I've ever had. He was a rookie. Well, not a rookie, but very young, playing with Shaq, and he's just shooting, chucking the ball up, just bang, bang every time the ball hits his hands.
I know where you're going.
And he goes, the guys go to Shaq and go, hey, Kobe's not passing us the ball. And Shaq's like, I'll take care of it. He's like, hey, Kobe, these guys say they're not passing the ball. He's like, there's no I in team. Kobe's like, you're right. He goes, but there's an M-E in that MFer. He says, he goes, you can get the rebound.
Yeah.
He goes, get it off the rebound. He goes, and he walked away. He goes, and Shaq said, I threw my hands up in the air and walked away.
He said, guys, he's not passing the ball.
Yeah, he ain't passing. You had to get a rebound.
I saw this TikTok the other day, and it's that, and it might be the best commercial of all time. It's that commercial where Kobe Bryant hits the game buzzer, and the fans start, Kobe sucks, and they all get up and start singing about how much Kobe's tormented in their careers.
Yeah,
and it's just fantastic.
It's that's the guy that you hated if he didn't wear your jersey, but if he wore your jersey, he's the greatest player to ever play the game. That's what it is.
I like I said, he's the whole reason that I was a Lakers fan, just like Brett Favre's reason. Not so proud of that one now that he's a
the Mamba mentality. Like, is there anybody ever, I guess Michael Jordan's got be like Mike, but is there anybody else in the NBA or any sport that has a mantra of the Mamba mentality? Like, I want to be like Kobe.
No, there's not.
Hard work beats talent any day of the week.
All right. Well, I love the Kobe Bryant talk here. I love Kobe Bryant. That is it. That we've covered all those headlines. We were all over the map here. Guys, that's our show today. Hour and 30 just on headlines. That's when you know it's been a busy week. I've been trying to write them all down since last Friday. But let's go Eagles in the Super Bowl. Sorry, Kat. Craig over there is rooting for your Kansas City Chiefs, though. But hope you have a fantastic weekend, guys. Go to your Super Bowl parties. Don't party too hardy. You got to work on Monday. They need to make that a national holiday.
Even if it's a national holiday, we won't see that day off ever.
Yeah, you ain't lying. It doesn't matter anyways for us. It just needs the ice on the Monday after the Super Bowl every year, and we'll be good to go. All right, guys. Well, that's the show. This episode, the headlines, episode 186 on the Outspoken Network. Guys, God bless. Take care. Enjoy your weekend, and remember,
keep it outspoken and have a good birthday Sunday.
Thanks, sir.